Yeah, from 99. He's in the industrial area. Looks like he's on a pavement. Stand by.
Hello people, and sheeple, and YouTube troll scumbags. You know who you are. All the people who can't comment on my channel anymore. This is PINACI. Used to be UK Pinac TV, but I changed my name. Photography is not a crime, idiot. And today, I'm just going to make a short video and show you what some of the camera equipment that I'm using and I'm about to use. Right, the camera that I'm holding is my Sony RX100. This is the Mark III model. I think they're up to about a Mark V now. But I prefer this camera over my DSLR because it's way lighter. And to be honest, it does pretty much everything a DSLR can do. So that's the camera I'm using to record this video with at the moment. Right, my next camera, this is my Sony Handycam. I like this camera. It's got a really good zoom on it. Obviously you got your tripod, monopod, handheld carrier. And I like this one because you can fit multiple cameras to it. I'm just going to stick this one on a tripod. Right, the main reason I like this one is because I can fit this power pack, which I bought specifically because I measured it and it fits right underneath, and it's a perfect fit. And to hold it into place, I use these Velcro cable ties. So a couple of those to hold it into place. And there you go. Now I can power two extra gadgets. For example, I can fit my Handycam on there. Using this extra shoe, I can fit my mobile phone on there. Power both of those. This is 6,000 milliamps an hour, so obviously I'll get a couple of hours out of it before the actual batteries if my cameras start to kick in. Also, I'll fit on here is I use this 3-axis gimbal, which I can use with my GoPro to give perfectly stable footage. Both of these are waterproof. This one you can use underwater, and obviously the GoPro Session 5 you can use underwater straight out the box. Not that I go underwater much, but perfect if it's raining. I can use this, so I can still power this and the GoPro using my power pack, or just power this and my phone or whatever I've got connected. I've got a cheap Activia. I think this is an Activion. I think these are about £30, full 1080p. They're pretty good cameras if you want a cheap camera. Gets a bit muffled though if you use it inside the case, so I prefer to just use magnets, stick it straight onto my chest. These cameras I use specifically front and back on my electric mountain bike. I made another video on replacing the batteries on these. I've got my normal GoPro chest mount, which I can't stand. I've made another video about that because I prefer to use magnets and plastic to hold my small action cameras like my GoPro, cheap camera there, to my chest. And most importantly, I carry all my paperwork with me, and I always carry this with me when I go out to take pictures or record anything. Whether I'm going out to do any kind of an audit or I'm just out taking photos, I always carry my paperwork with me, because 9 times out of 10 I always get bugged by someone. Basically, this consists of all this is available to download on any of my videos, by the way. Obviously the main one is the Association of Police Chiefs memo. This basically tells the police that they have no powers to stop public photography at all. This one's from the Metropolitan Police's website. Basically explains the same thing, that they have no powers to stop you from taking pictures. This is a bit of law on photography, restrictions on photography, legal restrictions, which isn't any really in public, whether you're recording public property or private property. I have section 1 of PACE, which is basically what the police like to use to search you, but they need reasonable grounds to suspect that you have certain items, so they make it up that they suspect you of going equipped to burgle, or you have drugs and stuff. Normally they can smell cannabis. They have the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, which is basically their powers to arrest you, but they need reasonable grounds. Reasonable grounds for suspicion, and this explains that. So they can't legally, lawfully arrest you unless they have reasonable grounds, and if they do so, then they can be held accountable. This is part of the Terrorism Act 2006, Section 5, preparation of terrorism acts. This is basically what Flute Dog and Spitshine 69 was just arrested for last week. Again, they need to reasonably suspect that you are a terrorist. Just looking up this act, which I noticed one of the police officers was doing in Flute Dog's video. They was on their phone trawling information to try and find something that they could arrest them for, and this is what they came up with. And it's basically bullshit that they were there recording so they could use the footage to prepare for acts of terrorism, and that's basically why they was released 2.5 hours later. It's because it was all bullshit. This is Section 5, Public Order, Harassment, Alarm and Distress. The police like to use this one if you swear or call them names. Yeah, no freedom of speech in the UK anymore. Even though it's not a crime to swear in public, and it's not a crime to swear at the police, there was one person that swore at the police constantly while being searched for drugs, and they tried to fine him. But he was later cleared by Mr. Justice Bean, because swearing's not a crime, and police are deemed to be hardened to being sworn at, and if they're not, then they basically need to go and find another job, maybe a lollipop man or something. This is your rights under Section 50 of the Police Reform Act. They try and use this one to get your name and address if you don't want to give it sometimes, but basically this is to do with antisocial behaviour, and if you do give them your name using this act, you don't have to give them your date of birth. This is Section 35, Dispersal Order. Basically they can't tell you to leave the area unless a senior officer has already previously gave permission for a certain area to be under this order, and it only lasts for 24 or 48 hours. This is the Criminal Justice and Courts Act 2015, Section 26. This is basically corrupt or improper exercise of police powers and privileges, which they like to use all the time. And take note of section 7A as well on this act. The police aren't allowed to threaten you with arrest either. This section is where section A, the police constable threatens to exercise or not to exercise a power or privilege of a constable. Well, if they threaten to arrest you all the time, if you don't give them your name, or you don't do this or you don't do that, then they're basically breaking the law if they have no grounds to give you that order. This is a removal of masks that I was looking into a little while ago, because obviously with the new facial recognition software that the police are trying to use, which turns out to be 93% inaccurate from recent reports. I wanted to find out where I stand if I want to go out and wear a mask, and can they make me remove it, which they can't unless they have permission from an inspector or a higher rank to authorise it under section 60 and section 60AA, and that's for a specific period, 24 hours in a specific area. So in other words, a policeman can't just walk up to you and say, take your mask off because I'm telling you to. And this one I'll keep in my bag, which is the new IOPC, Independent Office for Police Conduct, which has replaced the IPCC form. It's supposed to be more independent, but we'll see. So that's basically all my paperwork that I always carry with me. Always. Right, what I've also had made was a journalist ID card. And basically this ID card explains what a journalist is. A journalist is a person who collects, writes or distributes news or other current information to the public. So that's a journalist. It says photography is not a crime. In the United Kingdom there are no laws forbidding photography of public or private property or people from a public place. And on the back, believe it or not, and you can read this, I managed to fit the whole of this memo is written on the back. So I'm going to start carrying this around with me, either in my wallet or in one of these lanyards. I've also got a couple of t-shirts made up that says photography is not a crime, idiot. Okay, just one more final thing. I've decided to start using a burner phone. Basically bought myself another smartphone that's got absolutely no personal information on it whatsoever. I'm not going to use my personal phone anymore because it has all my family photos, photos of my children, all my personal information, banking information and all sorts on it. So now I'm just going to use this pay-as-you-go 4G capable cheap smartphone that's I'm going to use for live streaming when I go out recording from now on, because I've seen too many people get their equipment seized, as the police like to call it, but that's police talk for stolen.
And it's gone right at the end there.
You got it towards Sainsbury's.
Put that camera down, or we will tase you.
I know.